Hey guys, it's Tracy. Welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing my July wrap up. This is going to be a fairly short wrap up just because for the month of July not that I didn't read much, but that I didn't read consistently. However, I will say that July flew by like this. I blinked my eyes and we're already in August, which is insane. But at the same time, it feels like a lifetime ago for me. I honestly thought I didn't read anything in July because I thought I finished all the books that I read in July in June. So I was like, there's no point in me doing a wrap up. And then I checked my books that I read in Goodreads and I realized that I did finish 3 books for the month of July. I don't think I'm disappointed per se because the 3 books that I read I actually thoroughly enjoyed, with 2 of them being very memorable books that I absolutely love now. So I'm excited to share them to you guys. I'll also go through my August TBR as well just to keep myself accountable. So let's get into it. So the first book that I read in July was Pages & Co.'s second book. This is Tilliana Lost Fairytales by Anna James. I feel like I've spoken about this series quite a bit on my channel just because I finished the first book a few months back and that's the first book there. So this one is the second book here. It is a middle grade story following Tilly and her family members as well as a fellow friend who are book wanderers. So they have the ability to go into books and just go through the journey with book characters, or have book characters come out to meet them in the real world and to converse like real friends. I have done a review for the first book already and just spoken about how it was more of an introductory to the ability, or the magic involved in it. Not so much of an adventure, which I didn't quite enjoy, but I absolutely liked this one a lot more just because it had that adventure and that journey element, and you got to see the characters, so Tilly and her friend Oscar, actually be involved in the book world a lot more. It was a lot more fun. I think that's probably why I enjoyed it a lot more. So that was the first book that I read. The second book that I read is Parachutes by Kelly Yang. I've done a full review for this and I'll leave a link to it down below or somewhere up here, I think. I absolutely loved this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It is based on 2 girls by the name of Danny and Claire. Now Claire was born in Shanghai. She ends up moving to America and moving in to live with Danny, her host family. They are both the same age, and Claire ends up enrolling in Danny's high school. They are vastly different characters. So Claire has grown up in a very privileged and wealthy family in Shanghai. She has never had to work pretty much for anything that she wants in her life, whereas Danny comes from a very humble and very poor family. She is of Filipino background. Her mum has to work very hard to get her through school. At the same time though, she is an absolute genius. She also wants to strive to get through to Yale, and she wants to show people that you don't have to necessarily be born into a wealthy and privileged family to get to where you want to be. What I did enjoy about it, beyond the discussions around racism between white students and Asian students, or classisms between poor and rich and whatnot, was actually looking at the racism between Asians, particularly Asian Americans in this sense, because this is set in America, versus international students. And then you can see that the Asian American students don't particularly accept the international students either, even though they are from the same ethnicity, because they feel like they can't understand these international students. So I think that was really interesting to bring up because a lot of people don't actually realize that or don't want to discuss that. So I liked that Kelly Yang involved that as well. And then lastly, I read Zoboi's American Street, which 5 out of 5 stars. Probably my favorite read to date, I will have to say, which is a big call, but this is an incredible story following a girl by the name of Fabiola Toussaint as she migrates with her mum from Haiti to America. Now when they arrive in America, her mum is detained by immigrations and she ends up being sent to a detention center. Fabiola gets reunited with her auntie and her cousins though, who live in America, and she moves into a small home that they live in Detroit. I think there's so much to unpack in this story and I learnt so much from it, but I feel like everyone will take a different lesson out of this as well. Again, there's trigger warnings for racism, classism, there's domestic abuse, emotional abuse, use of drugs, violence. So just something to bear in mind. But I've done a full review for this as well, and I'll leave a link to it down below, or again up in the top corner. I cannot stop raving about this, so yeah. And I'm also excited to let you guys know that I am running a giveaway on my blog for my 8th year anniversary on the blog, Printed Words and I'm actually giving away Parachutes and American Street. So you can always check the link down below to enter. I think there's about a week's left of time to enter, so definitely go ahead and do that, because I would love for someone else to read the books and hopefully enjoy as much as I did. Moving on to my August TBR, and I'm not going to be as ambitious as I was in July, because clearly I ignored the rest of my TBR in July. So I have 3 books that I want to get through. The first book I've actually already started, and it is A Song of Wrath and Ruins by Roseanne A. Brown. Now this book was a release in June, I'm fairly sure. It was part of my July haul, and I will have to say that I bought more books in July than I read. It is what it is. This is a YA fantasy following 2 characters who are kind of destined to meet each other, but in a very brutal way. So each of them has to try and kill the other in order to save their loved ones or what is important to them. Now, what I think makes this so unique, and I think one of the reasons why it's such a popular book for this year, is because it involves African folklore and mythology, which is something that is never really included in any book that I've read before. And so far I am about a 1/5 of the way in. I'm like 100 pages in, and I've already been taken away by everything that I've learned so far. So I am excited to finish this and see what happens to the characters and how the story evolves. And then I want to follow up with My Father's Shadow by Janali Jones. This is from an Australian Indigenous author, and I'm fairly sure I've already mentioned the publishers that I've bought this from, Magabala Books, yes. So they're based in Western Australia, and they are an Australian Indigenous focused publishing company. So they really want to promote and encourage people to read from Australian Indigenous authors about Australian Indigenous stories. So this one here is a YA fictional story where a girl gets woken up in the middle of the night by her mum, and they have to escape. Her dad's gone and he's never coming back, and she just learns to unravel all of these mysteries, as well as, I guess, question things that she thought she knew in life. So I'm really excited to read this. This is probably another one of the books that I was really, really excited to get my hands on. And I think I've said excited about 5,000 times in this video. But this is The Coconut Children by Vivian Pham. Again, it's set in Australia. Vivian Pham is an Australian Vietnamese author. So she's first generation Vietnamese, which is like me, which also makes this really incredibly special to me. I haven't read a lot from Vietnamese authors or, first generation Vietnamese people who are born in a Western country. Coconut Children is set in the 90s in Cabramatta, which is a suburb in New South Wales, where a lot of the Vietnamese refugee ended up settling there after the war when they arrived in Australia. And it follows a girl named Sunny. Yes, it follows the story of a girl named Sunny who is coming to terms with growing up. So it is a coming of age story, and you follow her through high school, through learning about relationships, puberty, dealing with substance use and things like that. So I'm really excited to read this, because if you are Vietnamese and you live in Australia, you would know exactly where Cabramatta is and the turbulent and quite infamous place that it is, and the history around it. So yeah. And look, if I do have the time, I would love to continue to reread Deathless by Catherine M. Valenti. I had started to reread this last month, I'm fairly sure. I even filmed a weekly reading vlog and then never put it up. Just because I don't know why I didn't put it up. Anyways, this is a modern day fairy tale set in St. Petersburg. There is Russian folk lore in it. Catherine M. Valenti is a genius when it comes to writing fairy tales, and she just has a way with her words. And I've read this already, but I read it in 2012, so I definitely think that my feelings around it, or what I gain from it, will be very different this time around. If you haven't heard of her middle grade series, The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland. That's also a modern day fairy tale, but for kids, and I absolutely love that series as well. So yeah, this is just me being ambitious, even though I said I wasn't going to be. So that was my July wrap up and August TBR. Like I said, I'm not entirely disappointed in the fact that I only read 3 books, because I did read really, really good books, and I'm hoping that August will be the same. I am really looking forward to the 3 books that I picked out to read. Just a message, or I guess a note to put out there, especially for Victorians. We're actually going into stage 4 restrictions now, so that's much more serious conditions around lockdown. It's hard. Like, I think everyone is going through a difficult time this time around, especially when you're hoping that people will do the right things so that we can get through this together. Thank you so much for everyone who is doing the right thing. Again, we will have to go through this together to end up on the other side of it. But I really hope that you're taking care and staying safe. And if you ever want to chat, just please reach out. I have an Instagram or Twitter. You can always get to me through there. Otherwise, everyone else around the world, I also hope that you are having a great day, that you are staying safe as well. And I shall see you guys soon. If you have any of the books that I mentioned in this video, please leave a comment down below to let me know what you thought about them. Otherwise, how was your reading month for July, and what are you planning to read for August? Alright, that's it from me. Bye guys.